We have a very special guest in studio today. He is a husband, a father, a hell of a real estate agent, the owner of City Wide Softwash, the great and powerful JB Westerholt. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, sir.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
We're happy to have you, man. This is I've been wanting to get you on here for a while, so I'm really glad to get you in here. So let's just get right into it. Take us through your entrepreneurial journey that got you to where you are today.
So it started when I was young. My father owned a custom cabinet shop, and I really admired that, watching him run that. Pretty big company. It had like 8 buildings, 40 employees. You know, they did a lot of work around town, and definitely inspired me to one day do something on my own. I went to Linwood University, and while I was there, I started as an accounting major, took one accounting class, and was like, okay, this is not for me. This is not for me. So I kind of stumbled into entrepreneurial studies. That's actually a degree you can study at college. So during that, I was working at Waterway throughout college to, pay the bills and whatnot, working full time. And, I was a sales consultant, so making commission, and I was doing very good at it. I was top 3 in sales every month. And they one year cut my commission in half for 3 months. So that put a real burden on me. I was like, oh, shoot, what could I do to make some extra money to actually afford college? So I started detailing cars on the side. And during my entrepreneurial studies capstone, you had to write a business plan. So I actually wrote one for mobile car detailing. So I did that on the side. And, eventually they found out about it. And once they found out, of course, they fired me because they thought I was stealing all their customers and pocketing it myself, which really wasn't the case because you're getting your car detailed, you're not going to Waterway for it.
Right.
So I got fired on Wednesday, and as a young degenerate, I did what I normally did on Thursday, went to Nick's Pub, took advantage of the, $2 you call it. So I went in there and kind of stumbled into a bartending job. They just asked me if I wanted to work there. I was like, holy shit, I just got fired yesterday. How'd you guys know I needed a job?
Yeah.
So kind of started doing the bartending thing for a while and whatnot. During that kind of time period, did a couple, business seminar workshops that I went to, and then kind of really, really got the bug. Because my mobile car detailing company, I always treated it like a hobby. So it paid like a hobby. Everybody's heard that saying, and very true. You got to be committed, and I was too scared to go all in, like my W-2, steady income kind of job. So through that, I kind of got into real estate investing through the seminars, learning more about it. So me and my best friend, he kind of was already helping me with the detailing, and we decided to flip a house. So we did what everybody did, buy the ugliest house in the neighborhood and, try and make it better. So I was doing that. And around that same period, I bought my first house because me and my girlfriend at the time were getting serious. We had our first kid, and juggling all these things at once, I was kind of on cloud 9, had a lot of pieces going all together. And then one day I was in the middle of moving out of my apartment to go into our house that we bought. And it was 2 weeks after we bought it. We were doing all this stuff. And I got a phone call from my dad. And, all he could say was no more mom. So literally flipped my whole life upside down. My mom suddenly just dropped dead. There was no warning, there was no nothing. It just happened.
Jeez.
Day before her birthday, she was at the lake. All of her friends were coming down. And so I dropped everything I was doing, rushed down there, try to pick up the pieces, figure out what the hell was going on. So that completely changed my life forever. Immediately had to kind of take over and help my dad get through that because, he just lost his whole entire world.
Yeah. What happened? Like, you don't mind? Like, she just
Honestly, no idea.
nobody knows.
Like an aneurysm or something?
It was most likely a pulmonary embolism. One of my cousins is kind of in the medical field, and he kind of said that was most likely it because there was just no warning, nothing. And for those that don't know, pulmonary embolism, you pretty much have to have somebody there, like within like 30 seconds to a minute to even try to, rescue them. So yeah, that just completely flipped my world upside down and whatnot. And, my dad didn't know how to pay a bill, doesn't know how to send a text message, turn a computer on. So I literally had to like become my mom like overnight and like figured all the pieces and all that stuff. So on top of dealing with all of that, the flip was going on, and I kind of relied on my business partner to kind of finish it and manage it without me. And my dad was kind of our lead general contractor all the time during the job too. So he was obviously stepping aside to do that. And then, when we got kind of towards the end of the flip, My found out my business partner stole money from the business, and then when I confronted him, it obviously went very south because I was very hurt by all of this because I was really relying on him. Best friend 14 years. I would expect him to kind of have my back, especially with everything I was going through. And then, yeah, he kind of sabotaged the whole deal. So that thing all fell apart, ended ugly. Lost like every single dollar I had to my name. Um, and then, yeah, on top of all of that going on, yeah, during COVID, lost my job unexpectedly. So I was just kind of in this place of, wow, everything that could go wrong literally went wrong. But during COVID, I kind of took time to improve myself. I was studying to get my real estate license during that time because during COVID, everybody had a bunch of extra time.
Mm.
Went down a YouTube wormhole, saw some kid make like $1 million a year washing houses in Seattle, and he was like 22. I was like, fuck, if he can do this, I can do this.
Mm.
So I literally like 6 months just kind of went down this wormhole, looking up the equipment, how to do the services, kind of how to do it. And then, I saw a marketplace, somebody selling a rig for 5 grand. And I was like, all right, babe, I'm doing this. Like, I didn't really ask for permission. I was like, I'm going all in. And, that is really kind of what finally allowed me to kind of be successful in business was, no W-2 job, no, just all in, completely unknown. And, I share this story not for sympathy or anything like that. It's just that we live kind of in a victim society right now where it's really easy to be a victim. And I had every reason to be a victim. I just had my whole world crushed, and so many bad things happened to me. But like what I've kind of learned through my tragedies is that, it's all about how you react to them. Like I could have, turned to drugs, alcohol, and nobody would have, batted an eye. They'd been like, oh, he's going through something. But, at the end of the day, my dad was relying on me. My wife was relying on me. My kid was relying on me. Like everybody was relying on me, because no matter what happens to you, like, your best friends, your family, the government, nobody's coming to save you. Like it's really all on your shoulders to try to make it better, and that's pretty much kind of what I learned through all that tragedy is like, I got to make the most out of this. I got to turn it around. I got to do something to improve it because at the end of the day, the only thing that could really make my mom proud as she looks down on me is that fact that like I'm going to try to do the best I can for her and for my family. So, that's what I did. And, it's my third year in business and it's going really good. We're able to get my wife to be a stay-at-home mom with, we got 3 kids now and, doing the homeschooling thing. So like, all the pieces are kind of working out and we're just trying to make it happen. So yeah, that's kind of my story where I got today, was
Yeah.
very bumpy, but, you got to push through and, just got to see the light at the end of the tunnel. My favorite quote that probably got me through this was, Tupac Shakur, through every dark night, there's a brighter day. And, that's kind of how life happens, got to take the blows and the punches and keep going to get to the end.
Yeah. Wow.
Man. And I mean, you hear it a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, the ones that are successful had that rough beginning or rough or had that really rough point that really forced them to back into themselves, and the ones that stayed true to themselves and made themselves better are the ones that usually come out on top. You know, anybody can, if it's easy, anybody's going to be able to do it, but that's the stuff that, people don't see and or know about. And, that's part of what, why we're doing this show is, I mean, especially for the younger people coming out of college, life's not easy. College can, you can get on cloud nine in college pretty quickly and live the high life. But I mean, as soon as you step off that campus and you're in the real world, they'll smack you across the face pretty quick.
Yeah, college is such a scam for the mentality it puts you in because like you're never gonna be surrounded by so many
Yeah.
like-minded people doing all the same things, living on cloud nine. And then yeah, as soon as you get out in the real world, like if you're not one of those people who like goes and gets a job right away, you're just kind of like stuck in limbo, just kind of
Right.
like going through the motions, still going to the bars on the weekends, just like chasing that next like fix and excitement, like you gotta hit the ground running as soon as you get done with college. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, well, let me ask you this too, because you studied entrepreneurial studies in college. Did that really prepare you to be an entrepreneur?
No.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
capstone was nice because the whole course was writing a business plan.
Yeah.
Like it was a 40-page business plan,
Yeah, it's
but
detailed.
really all that thing does is like it's good for getting funding from a bank, which small businesses usually aren't even doing. Or like a good thing about business plan is like if you ever lose track of where you're going or struggling in your business, you can kind of go back to that and it's like a blueprint of what you should be doing. But honestly, all of the things I learned were from failure.
Right.
And I also went on like a huge reading kick. I read like 20 books in a year because I was just like, okay, I need to figure out like how to do this.
Right.
You know, I need inspiration. And a lot of those books really, really helped me. Like I learned more from Rich Dad Poor Dad about making money than anything I did in college.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was still good to get a good general background, but
Right.
like, you know, I learned way more on YouTube about making money than in college.
Well, it just goes, I mean, it's still, I mean, you guys are a few years younger than I am, but, you know, that college whole, that to get the degree, that's still getting pushed. And like, it's not for everybody.
It's not.
Especially, I mean, you probably could have become an entrepreneur without taking and spending your money on college.
So I mainly went to college because nobody in my family graduated college, and I wanted to be like the first person to graduate. And then also I just wanted the experience.
Yeah.
Right? Trust me, that experience was worth it, you know, and I was working 40 hours a week, you know, while going through college. You know, I was in a fraternity, I was in leadership positions, you know, ran on like 4 to 5 hours of sleep, you know, that little triangle, like you can have good grades, a social life, or sleep. I chose these two, even though my grades weren't the best, you know. I mean, I got A's and B's, but like I could have applied myself very much. I just skated by. But you know, a good friend of mine always said college isn't about the grades you make, it's about the hands you shake. And
That's
you know,
true.
When I got my real estate license, literally like all my clients were people from the fraternity or people I met in college. So you know, those are lifelong friendships I made in there. So I don't regret it. You know, I luckily graduated with only like $15,000 worth of college debt because, you know,
that's awesome.
I was making a $1,700 payment every month. So, you know, it was pretty rough, but, you know, I went and traded for the world because working through college definitely put me in a better position. And, you know, I was working in Creve Coeur, a bunch of rich people coming through there, very important people, blues players, you know, Hitchcock was a regular. So it was just cool, kind of like, I was a sales guy, so they had to talk to me. So like it was cool just being able to like, you know, get around them. A lot of them you could learn some stuff from because some were more talkative than others. People were giving me advice when they asked what I was studying for and stuff like that. So the whole networking about it was great for that as well.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's a class that should be like mandatory in college, is like how to network.
Yeah, how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah.
Like,
There's
that
a
should
whole
be
class on
mandatory.
that.
Yeah. Literally.
Just take the best books that are written by people that actually did it, not your school books. Like you said, you could do a whole semester on Rich Dad Poor Dad. Do a whole semester on how to make friends and influence people. Like, that's the stuff that should be studied.
Exactly.
You know, that's not like, let's do shit that we can apply in real life. Shit should start in high school, so even younger. And so you're homeschooling your kids. How's that going?
Honestly, awesome. It's so easy. Like, I mean, you get like the curriculum, you know, we have like a math curriculum and an English curriculum. And, you know, like what's cool about homeschooling is it only takes like an hour or two a day.
Yeah.
You know, like sending your kids to school is more just like the daycare thing, like keeping the kids away so you can actually go to work, you know? So it is tough financially to pull it off, but if you can, it's super beneficial because like, my oldest is literally bugging me. Like, can we please do math? Like, I want to do math. Like, he's obsessed with it. Or like, we'll do 2 lessons a day. And he's like, I want to do one more, you know?
That's cool.
But like, we also do other stuff. Like, we're a part of a co-op where, you know, a bunch of moms and dads meet up every Monday. We go to a different park or a museum or, you know, go see the arch and somebody teaches like a lesson. So like, you know, the biggest stigma is like the social.
Thing. That's what I was going to say.
But
like, are you
like,
doing?
you know, we're in
obviously.
sports, you know, Jensen just started lacrosse.
Oh, dude,
Like
there,
playing
lacrosse guy.
Yeah, I'm a lacrosse
playing
guy.
catch with him.
Yeah, we play catch like every
so
day
cool.
in the front yard. And he just, after the first practice, he literally said, "This is the greatest sport in the world. I want to do this every day." Swear to God, I didn't endorse it. It was just him.
Dude, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
Dude, that's gotta make you feel so good.
I know. But we let him do everything. He did dance, you know, he did t-ball, he did soccer, he did basketball, and you know, they love swimming, like, and so yeah, and the co-op does field trips and stuff, and you know, we've done there's a place called Trailblazers, kind of like homeschool friendly, kind of like place you can still take him to school for 4 hours a day. So it's not like he's completely homeschooled. He still has like a
social life.
Yeah, it's called a micro school, so it's not like a full time Monday through Friday kind of thing. So we're making it work. It kind of fits our lifestyle, and I mean, he's sharp as a tack. So
that's so cool.
I mean, it's working. He's really smart. So
That's
amazing,
awesome,
man. Wow, that's so cool. I mean, you just got so many things going on with all the kids at home, the business, the real estate. Like,
Don't remind me.
yeah, dude, how do you keep your sanity, bro?
I don't. Embrace the chaos.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah. My wife has a t-shirt that one of the podcasts she listens to, it's like a bunch of moms and stuff, and it's like romanticize the chaos, because like that's kind of what you have to do. Like when you have young kids at home and like it's just crazy all the time. You walk into your house after working all day. At least for me, I'm just like, like there's some days I come home now with Gina being home from school, or she's a teacher, so she's home for the summer now, and I'll come in and I could just tell it's been a crazy day, just by the look on her face, and you're like, okay, what do you need? Like right away. It's just it can be a lot sometimes, man. It's just it's difficult, but it's so worth it. It's so fun.
And do you ever bring them with you on some of your jobs, like some of the easier stuff that you do, just to like?
I wish.
Yeah.
I mean, I got 3 boys, so the workforce is looking very promising in the future. I will say, when I was taking down Christmas lights at my house, like I was doing the spindles, and they're close to the ground, and my oldest was really interested in helping me. I was like, okay. And then I like go inside and come back, and like they're all done.
Ladder?
Well, they like ladders, but no, they're all taken down. I was like, how'd you do that? He's like, oh, I just did this and this. I was like, buddy, you got a job here soon. Like, so
my first employee.
Oh no, he will be like, one of my financial advisors is pretty keen on teaching people how to add your kids as employees, and even your wife and stuff. Cause the plan is to get like a full, family work, medical plan and all that stuff, and all the tax advantages. Cause there's a lot of benefits to being a business owner, but it comes at a price, because you're going to lose your sanity doing it.
Yeah, my accountants kind of talked to me about doing the same thing, adding Gina and putting her on like a salary and like.
Yeah,
all you need to do is just, do some stuff with them on social media, and they're technically employees for you guys.
Yeah, there's no age requirement. They can be 1 month old.
Right, you can get them set up get retirement accounts set up for them early. All that stuff.
All my kids have a credit card. They just don't know about it.
Yeah. Right?
Throw in that credit score for them.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's what my parents did, and then did that with the boys. It just added them as authorized users on a card, and that's how I was able. Once I came out of college, I was able to
probably had perfect credit,
great scores.
Yep. Yeah, and that's something that's like, it's always crazy to me. Obviously, in our real estate industry, we hear you see it a lot more than I do, or than we do, but the people's finances and like people that haven't been building credit at all. Like I know we've got a client who's like, I met them for coffee recently. He was like, yeah, I've only really had really started building my credit last year. And I'm like, dude, you're in your mid 30s. Like you didn't have a credit card this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, right. Whoa. Like like it just kind of blows my mind, that
I think it's
get
just
that far in life, and
people are afraid to talk about money.
Yeah.
Yeah. My parents did not talk about money. So when my mom passed and I had to look at the finances and get a full picture of it, I was like, oh, okay. There was no real retirement plan, or at least it wasn't a very good one. I literally spent like a month just going through papers trying to figure out like, what is this? What is this? Oh, a second mortgage? Okay, where did that come from? Just like,
when did they get that?
Yeah. Like I just did not know the picture, because we don't talk about it.
And I was lucky in that sense, because my mom did what I did for 47 years. So both of my parents were very open and honest, and had very detailed conversations about it. Like, my mom harped on credit from a very young age, and so I just think it's something that people think it's such a taboo topic to talk about, but those are the conversations that need to be have.
It's essential.
Yeah. I remember when I turned 16, my parents told me, all right, we're getting a credit card, and all we're gonna here's we're gonna get you set up with a credit card. Only put gas on it, like gas, and you pay it off every month. And that's literally what I did. And I still have that same card today. Yep. And it's just obviously it's been a new card because I've had it for 15 years or whatever. But like, just it started out with, I was like, all I put on it was gas every month.
Don't ever let that card close. I always tell people, like,
do not let it close.
No,
roll it over into a new card if you don't like that card. I do that because I credit card hack. So
Well, do you call your credit card people and renegotiate your interest rate every year?
I don't renegotiate the interest rate. I request an increase in my limit every 3 months.
Yeah. Well, so Discover's great at this. I haven't paid interest. I've had this Discover card for about 15 years now. And I haven't ever paid interest on it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Just because you make the payments on time? Or?
No, it was every year. So like every year I call when I got it, 24 months, 0% APR, intro rate, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Once that was up, I was listening to something, I forgot who it was, posted, hey, you can renegotiate your rate. So I called them and I was just like, hey, my 0% APRs, I know it's probably going to kick up to this. Is there anything I can do to get that interest rate down? They're like, well, actually, we have another 0% for 12 months. Do you want me to apply that to your card? I go, absolutely. So I've done that every time that intro period ends. I call and say, hey, I'd like to renegotiate my rate. What can I do? And they'll be like, oh, well, we've got this 15 months, or we've got another 12 months, or we got another 18 months, 0% interest. I'm like, sign me up. Let's do it.
I'm going to go home and do that right away because I have a 0% interest one due in 2 days. And it's like, I could use a little extra time to pay this bad boy off because you got to pay it all off before it gets all the interest points. So
100%.
Because I use that as a big financial tool.
So here's the thing with that. So the current balance isn't going to roll over to 0%. It's going to go back to whatever that initial is. So any future purchases. So that's why I always make sure the Discover card is paid off and all that. So when I go to renegotiate that, is that anything new that goes on it is now 0%.
Very good information.
Yeah.
Credit cards are a financial tool if you use them correctly.
Absolutely.
Sure, man. Well, so let's get into your business and like the early stages of it. So you bought the rig for $5,000. What's next?
In terms of like equipment.
Like what did you? So you got the rig
how
and
I got started.
You just start knocking on doors. Like, hey man, can I hit your driveway? Or like what was the move?
Big and just leaning in on sphere of influence. Honestly, like calling friends and family. And pretty much what I did was I would just say like, hey, trying to start this business, like I'm pretty much offering like a tip only kind of thing, like just pay what you think it's worth. And I would do the work. Yeah, you were one of my first customers. And I thank you so much because you gave me so much confidence because, sometimes if I did a lot of work, I'd be like, yeah, just whatever you want. But like if I was going to charge, I would probably charge this. And I was just so scared to ask people because it was like hundreds of dollars for my services. And you paid me the full amount. I was like, holy fuck, you paid me the full amount. Like, okay, cool.
I was like, well, I'm not going to I was like, it was like, pay me what you think it's worth. I was like, well, I don't know what it's worth.
Well,
like, I don't know.
That's why I ran into because people didn't
know. You're
know.
here for this many hours? Like, I don't know. Like, whatever. You tell me what it's worth, man. I'm going to pay you.
Well, a lot of people like, they want to support your business, but they also want a discount. So like, that's the thing.
That's
and
a frustrating thing.
It's so frustrating. But luckily, like people like you really gave me the confidence. So and I would like go knock people's in my neighborhood door and just be like, hey, like I'll clean your gutters for a Google review because I kind of knew the importance of like SEO and getting Google reviews to get your traction going. So it was all word of mouth, just stuff like that, boots on the ground. And first year, I probably replaced what my W-2 job salary was. So I was like, okay. And then did a couple of real estate transactions too, thanks to your guidance. So like, I just had a lot of confidence. And then, me and my wife were like, okay, so what's this look like? Because it was really hard to, manage the kids and her job and my job because, a lot of moving parts. So we kind of come up with an agreement like, okay, if I hit these milestones, like I feel comfortable like stepping down from my job or only doing it once or twice a week. So that way you can kind of go more full time in this. And I hit those numbers and, we kind of been keep it going and it's been doing great.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, when you first started, it sounds, I think, when you kind of came to me to like for some real estate guidance, I think I told you pretty much the exact same thing. It was like, all right, man, like get a list of like 100 or more people and call them all and let them know you're a real estate agent. Hey, man, I don't know if you saw on Facebook or not, but I recently got in the real estate industry. So if could you keep your eyes and ears out there for anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest? And that's what, I think when we first met, I think that's kind of what I told you to do. And you did the same thing.
And I did it. And thank you.
Yeah, it's
really, really worked.
It's uncomfortable, but it's like, it needs to happen. Like, and it gets you like some reps on the phone.
For sure.
To like just, and it's like, start out like making, 10 calls a day, and I'd always kind of say the same script. I'd blame it on my real estate coach. Like, hey, my real estate coach gave me some homework and I have a favor to ask for you. You gotta, do the, hey, how are you? Talk to him for a couple minutes, but then, like, hey, so the whole reason I'm actually really calling is I've got some homework and my real estate coach told me to, think of 5 people and call 5 people today and ask them for a favor. And I thought of you and, hey, if you hear of anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, would you be willing to give them my name? And that was literally like what I did. And I mean, you did the same thing and it works out. It's just it's uncomfortable calling your friends and like like trying to be salesy, but like it needs to happen. Like you need to do it. It's uncomfortable. It's part of being a business owner.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
Oh.
it's just all right. So you get the you got the rig. You're calling the people. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to ask you. What's the difference between soft washing and pressure washing?
Yeah, so that's like the biggest misnomer about the industry is everybody thinks it's pressure washing, like, oh, can you pressure wash my house? And it's like, no, I'll soft wash it. Pressure is literally that, using high pressurized water to, clean the surface. The only thing I use pressure on is concrete. And then even most of the time after I use pressure on the concrete, I soft wash it. Soft washing is just applying chemicals using garden hose pressure. So a lot of times people are like, hey, I need a quote for pressure washing my house. Like, "Ugh, you're gonna need a really big ladder. It's 3 stories." I'm like, I'm gonna do it all from the ground. They're like, what? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna spray chemicals from the ground up to the peak of your roof, all from the ground. And it's because everything that grows on your siding, your roof, even your concrete, all that black and green, moldy kind of looking stuff, lichen, that's all organic. So using a chemical that kills the organics will kill it, and then you just rinse it off so there's no damage. Because if you use pressure on your siding, you're just knocking the top layer off. It's still there. It's still growing. You're forcing water behind it. And, water's not supposed to get behind the siding. That's the
No.
whole point of the siding.
Right.
And then also vinyl siding is very fragile. So you're going to burst holes in it. If there's oxidation on it, you're going to leave stripes. So yeah, really, I'm not really a pressure washing company. I'm an exterior clean solutions company. I provide solutions to clean, whether it's your stucco, your roof, your siding, fragile pool decks, like cool pool decks. There's a lot of surfaces that you don't want to use pressure on at all. So like I literally only use pressure on concrete. So that's like the biggest thing you kind of have to teach people is like, yeah, you want to soft wash it because you want to do it safe and effective. You're entrusting me with your very expensive home to clean it properly. You don't want to have to deal with damage that wasn't there before. And also, if I use pressure, it's not going to get all the way clean. Like a white vinyl fence, you can use pressure on that all you want. Like it's still, the stains are still going to be there. Like you have to kill it in order to get it off properly.
Good to know. Good to know.
And so besides the soft washing and stuff like that, what other services do you offer?
So here's a good tip for anybody getting in the home service industry. Constantly be adding new services to your repertoire. My very first year, I cleaned some gutters for a customer. He called me 2 weeks later saying they were clogged. And I was like, there's no way. I get up there, literally all the little helicopters completely clogged his downspout again. So I looked up gutter guards and I did some very thorough research of like, okay, what's the best gutter guard on the market? Which ones suck? Which ones are terrible? I called a company to quote my house and I was like, oh, you guys are a scam because they start you at like $8,000 and then they give you a 20% military discount and then a 10% manager discount. And I was like, okay, what about 5? And they're like, no. And they're like, what about 4? And then they're like, no. They're like, what if we put a sign in the yard? That's $3,300. I was like, oh my God, you guys are just preying on people.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started installing gutter guards. I only offer one kind and it's the best kind I have found. And I just give you one price and that's it. So I did that mainly because, I saw a need for it and a solution because I don't want customers, paying me 4 times a year to clean the gutters if there's a solution to just kind of protect it. So I started offering that. I do Christmas lights. I started caulking driveways, the expansion joints so like all the weeds don't grow in there and then the water gets underneath it and kind of shifts the concrete over time. Sealing concrete. I offer graffiti removal, rust removal, oxidation removal, efflorescence, red clay stains. Like there's all kinds of different things. Because that's another thing about pressure washing people don't understand is like, I have to be a chemist. I have to be a mechanic because things are going to break constantly. I got to be a plumber because I have to be able to plumb my system and not have any air leaks. Because as soon as you have one little like leak in the pressure washer system, like the whole thing doesn't work pretty much as it's supposed to. I got to be an electrician because I have a 12-volt battery to charge certain things. So there's a lot of different kind of areas you have to learn about and be able to fix stuff on the fly because shit will go wrong in the middle of a job and you don't want to have to go back because that's like the most demoralizing thing is like when you're swamped and it's like, oh, I got to go back to this job because I didn't have this one part. So, I'm constantly adding like 2 to 3 different services every year. I added window washing this year and I just landed like a huge job cleaning the new Ronald McDonald house that I just finished up last week, all because I added window washing to my services. So there's a lot of different services in the pressure washing exterior clean solution realm that you can do. Like I clean parking garages. I've done entire bank buildings. So like it's really endless, and you can always add new services. So it's really cool because adding services has definitely upsold certain jobs and allowed me to get certain jobs. So like, because the way I thought about it was, my wife's always just like, why do you keep adding more stuff? Like, just stick to what you're good at. And like, why do you keep it? Well, I can take $500 ticket and turn it into like a $2,000 to $3,000 ticket, and it's the same customer. So it's
Right.
like, I don't have that, I don't really market, but the acquisition cost of gaining
Right.
a new customer. So, yeah, it's really vital if you're in the home service industry, just to constantly be adding new services, because you're going to expand your horizon of, who you can help.
Yeah. Well, while we're on this topic, I got a buddy of mine who just recently, that I went to college with recently, kind of start a home kind of similar to what you're doing. He kind of started off with like a million things like right off the bat. And I was like, man, it just seems like a lot. And he's like just kind of starting out. I was like, I feel like you'd want to like start out and kind of figure out, your systems and stuff and how you do things. Do you think do you think starting out with like all those services that you do now would be a good idea, or like how you did it, where you like started with a handful of things and like slowly added things over time?
Yeah, I would add it slow over time. It really all depends on the equipment too. You have, like the rig I bought, it kind of had everything to do, like roofs, siding, and concrete. Because anybody, like, that's the thing about the industry is like, there's no really barrier to entry. Anybody can go buy a power washer and a ladder and be like, I'm in business.
Yeah.
But most likely they're going to damage some stuff and do some things wrong. But, like if you're like, 16-year-old kid, like, yeah, go buy a leaf blower and a ladder and clean some gutters, you can make some money doing it. If a downspot's clogged, you're going to be screwed though, because you have to have water or take it apart to get it completely cleared out. But yeah, if you should start with like the core mechanics, like just washing houses, concrete, if you have a soft wash system, you can clean roofs. But like, yeah, if you're starting with like 20, 30 different things and you don't know how to properly do all of them, like I added it kind of as a necessity basis, like, like, oh, customer wants gutter
He
guards.
asked about this. Oh shit, maybe I should do that. Or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
like I got into caulking driveways because I helped my buddy buy a house. His family owns a concrete company. I washed his driveway as like a closing gift, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna caulk these cracks because there's a bunch of weeds growing in them." He blasted them all out. I was like, "Okay, can I help you and watch you do that and teach me?" So he taught me how to do that, and that helped me land my biggest job ever.
I remember you telling me about that giant driveway, right?
Yeah, it was a 11,000 square foot driveway.
Holy shit.
Yeah, in Sunset Hills. Like, it started out as cleaning and sealing, and I was like, hey, like all of your caulk is like, falling apart and whatnot. So yeah, that turned it from like a $8,000 job into a $15,000 job, just because I was able to offer that service, and it makes it look way better when you have it all done at once. Because yeah, the logistics of doing it later would have been a nightmare.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's better to slowly do it, especially if you're not like really skilled in it, because there's a lot that can go wrong. So like, I mean, every time I do a caulk job, I usually run into something new. I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't think about that. Or like, you run into this caulk like that doesn't tear out easily. You're like, oh fuck, I gotta factor that in, because you really won't understand your pricing right away either. So, I mean, teach your own,
Yeah,
But I would definitely.
I just looked at all the things he was doing. I was like, man, it's like a lot of shit. I was like, man, that's a big long list of shit that you're doing, and that's like, I know you're just getting started, so you don't have a ton of experience in any one particular thing. So I was like, I saw that and I was like, oh man, but then I immediately thought of you. I was like, oh, JB does a lot of this stuff, so maybe that is how you do it. I don't know.
But also you have to have like equipment pretty much specialized
That's
for
the thing.
each
I've
and
seen
thing.
your big old rig that you pull around.
Yeah, and like, I'm constantly adding, new services that require expensive equipment, or I'm trying to upgrade my equipment to increase my efficiency. Like, the rig I bought had like the nicest pressure washer from Home Depot on it. It was like $1,000. Once that one hit the dust, I upgraded and it was $3,000, So like, there's really expensive equipment, and when you start to upgrade stuff, and then like, I just bought some back poles that attach to like a leaf blower, so I can clean some stubborn gutters that are like on a bad slope to protect myself a little better.
Yeah.
But those were over like $1,000, and really it's just kind of a nice thing to have for certain situations. But it's going to increase my efficiency on certain jobs and keep me safe, so I can go home with my family. Because climbing ladders and being on roofs all day, it can be kind of scary sometimes.
Sure, dude.
So yeah, you definitely invest over time and stuff to make it safer, more efficient and whatnot. But you go all at the get-go, it can be rough, because there's a lot of YouTubers out there that kind of influence like certain equipment to buy, and like they're like, oh, buy this rig for 50 grand, and like people will do it, but then like the next year they're selling it. Like, come wintertime, there's going to be so many rigs every year for sale, and everybody's just like, oh, they probably fell in the trap and bought all this equipment and didn't realize it was going to be hard work, and didn't know how to gain the customers, because the same people that push the equipment are also like, oh, you can do this job in 2 hours and make $3,000. That's like,
2 hours.
That rarely ever happens, and like those jobs are really hard to get, and most of the time they're just blowing smoke trying to get people to buy stuff that they can't afford.
Yeah, dude. Well, is there a craziest or dirtiest job you've ever taken on that like really sticks out to you? You're like, oh shit, man, this one was fucking wild.
Honestly, that big driveway job was crazy, just because it was like a 5 or 6 day job. Me and my buddy, put 10-hour days in for a whole weekend, and then just kind of following up with it. And
is this the same buddy you did the house with? He helped you do the caulking?
Yeah.
Nice.
I pretty much always bring him on just because he loves it. Because the best part about blue collar work is not that you're kind of active and out there doing stuff, but like when you're doing it with friends, you're literally just getting paid to like hang out with each other. I'm always listening to podcasts when I work, but if I have a good buddy with me, I put that down. We just shoot the shit, make jokes, and it makes the time go by a lot faster, and it's a little more enjoyable. But yeah, just like the logistics and planning about that. I spent like $5,000 in just materials just to get prepared for that job, and I was just like, oh boy, like not sleeping just because I'm like thinking about all the stuff that needs to go on. And of course that job happened in the fall when all the leaves are falling, so we're like they're falling on the caulk, and you're like, the caulk's still wet and stuff. So that one stuck out. The Ron McDonald House one I just did stuck out just because we cleaned 270 windows on this 4-story brand new building. And I used to volunteer at the Ronald McDonald House with my grandma. She volunteered there for 14 years. I did my senior service project at Vianney at Ronald McDonald House. So that one just kind of had some sentimental value. Cleaning that big Bank of America right across from Ronnie's. That was a big building, and I was just like, whoa.
That is a big one.
Yeah, all the commercial jobs kind of stuck out. The parking garage job I did this year, I get to do it twice a year, and knocked that out in 9 hours with my buddy, and it was just like 9 hours straight of working. But when you get done, you're like, oh sweet, I don't have to come back for this.
Yeah,
for
another 6 months.
Yeah, and you get that immediate gratification too, because you can actually see the transformation from being dirty to clean.
Yeah,
you got a whole like what's that? What's the top? Was it ASRM or whatever?
Yes, ASMR. I'm very familiar because I have a YouTube channel, and I try to post content about that kind of stuff because I used to literally watch those videos just to go to sleep at night watching people clean stuff. Yeah. So now I make those videos because I'll be honest, I really suck at the whole like commercial type of videos, like the stuff you guys do. Like I suck at that. Public speaking, great at, because I can just kind of free flow and whatnot. And if I mess up and correct myself. But like the whole script and being perfect for like that 30 seconds and 6 seconds, I suck at. So like I love an industry where I can just post a before and after picture and be like, look what I did.
Your work talk for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So like I don't spend any money on marketing. It's all organic, SEO, word of mouth, networking, posting pictures on social media, showing people what I can do. So yeah, it is very satisfying just to be able to look at something and be like, ha, I did a good job. Yeah. I know I did it because look at it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, do you still do any of the car detailing stuff, or have you kind of stepped away from that?
I've stepped away simply because I got burnt out. I did that for 12 years,
Sure.
I definitely got burnt out. And like the hardest part about the industry is scheduling, because Midwest, rains a lot, things change. Also, it's like, hey, Pat, when are you going to be away from your car for 4 to 6 hours and I can have a date with it? Like it's super hard logistically to schedule and whatnot. And like the way I did that business is I just charged $75 an hour, let you choose the services. It was really quick because everybody does like packages and like bid it and stuff. I always try to keep things simple because time is so valuable that I like to streamline it. So, but yeah, when I'm making, sometimes $150 to $400 an hour doing this job, it's like, I don't want to go back to that, but I probably have like 6 people currently asking me like, you still detail cars? It's like, depends who's asking. Yeah. Like family and friends only. Like I do a couple customers that I've been doing for 10 years. And the main reason I do that is because, they got big houses in Ladue, and like I want to do their services for the new business. So I do that, and it's worked out. But right now I refer it all to a buddy of mine who's just started a company last year. And I'm just like, please take this.
Nice.
Just add that as the list once you get those really big houses in Ladue. Oh, by the way, we do car detailing. So while we're doing this, we can detail the car too.
Yeah.
And I'm also a real estate agent.
Trust me, that was kind of the whole synergy behind everything when I first started. Was like, okay, people who like their cars cleaned, like their houses cleaned. Okay, people who like their houses cleaned, eventually they're going to sell.
Yeah.
So it all synergizes. It's not like I'm doing completely different things. Like
Right.
I'm bookkeeping over here, I'm cleaning houses over here, and I own a laundromat. You know, like everything kind of synergizes
goes
well.
together.
But, you know, once the pressure washing business took off, it's like, okay, I don't need the detailing money because I'm literally struggling to keep up with the customers I have right now for pressure washing. So I don't mind giving it to my friend. And, you know, but some people will be like, oh, I only want you.
Yeah.
We don't want them. I'm like, they do a better job than me. Like,
they're doing this shit all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm not motivated to do this. Like, I'll still do a good job, but trust me, you're better off going with him.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
Well, where are you wanting or seeing this business go in the next 5-10 years?
So right now my biggest goal is to get rid of the trailer, buy a big flatbed, and then like mount everything onto there because I do a decent amount of work like in the city and certain houses where, you know, it's so annoying when you go down these streets and there's no turnaround. It's like, okay, I can't turn around anywhere. I got to detach the trailer, turn the truck around. Luckily I have a wheel on my trailer, so move it around. So like sometimes just parking and logistics like that are a nightmare. So I'm trying to upgrade my equipment to make myself more efficient so I can cut down on my time. I'm definitely a lean, mean machine kind of guy. Like I have trust issues, obviously, from my past. So like hiring an employee full time just scares the crap out of me. So my goal is to just upgrade my equipment to where I can be more efficient with my time and get jobs done faster. And then there's a lot of people in this industry, like they can make $250,000 a year just a solo operator. So I was like, oh, if I can get to that just solo, that's the goal. And then as soon as I get to that point, then I'll feel comfortable like, okay, I can hire an employee to cut down on my work time just because once I have the rig, I'll be able to have like 2 systems going at once. Because right now I do hire friends for like bigger jobs, you know, just to help. Or if it's like a sketchy job where it's, you know, 2.5 stories.
Someone holding the ladder. Yeah.
A 28-foot and 32-foot ladder are no jokes.
Yeah.
I finally have the confidence to do the 28-foot by myself. But on jobs where like I got to move it all the time, I'm like, oh no, I need somebody here. I'm going to get burnt out and not be able to do another job after this. So yeah, I'm trying to just kind of increase all the systems and the efficiency of the equipment before I kind of start getting employees because I really do enjoy the work. It's going to keep me young, but I do have other aspirations later on in life. So yeah, once we get to that point and, you know, it's kind of rolling and stuff and we got like seasonal contracts, I'm starting to get those kind of worked on so that way I can have that predictable income, you know. Because I definitely want predictable income on the books before I hire somebody. Like, you know, supporting somebody like a $40,000-$50,000 a year salary, it scares the crap out of me because it's like that's not on the books. Like, you know, I'm gonna screw this person over. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be able to scale and grow. It's just, you know, we gotta do it at my own time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now in the, you know, I would imagine, you know, in the winter and colder months, you know, business probably slows down a little bit or no?
Up until it's freezing, yeah. I'm usually still pretty slammed until like I have to tell people like, hey, it's freezing out. My system's getting shut down for the winter. I don't want it to burst because obviously, you know, water's all through my system. So I have to completely winterize it. I was fortunate enough last year, I was parking it in a garage. So I was able to do some work kind of like on those nice days because in St. Louis, you might have 60 degrees and the next day it'll be 17 and then the next day it's like 80. You're like, well, I want to work on that 80-degree day, you know, make some money. But I do install Christmas lights during the wintertime. It's just kind of
snow removal or anything stuff. You thought about that?
Yeah, my dad used to do that and whatnot. And I just don't know if I have much desire to do that. You know, I got a good concrete company that does snow removal in my B&I chapter. And I just rather refer that to him and have him deal with that because that can be a logistical nightmare and whatnot. And also I like taking the winter off, you know, I work really, really hard 9 months out of the year. Wintertime's nice. And, you know, I usually have a real estate deal or two to go during the winter because that's the best time to buy, people. Less competition because nobody wants to move in the winter. So that's the best time to buy. And yeah, no, I definitely stay busy because a lot of people get their gutters cleaned right after the fall, right before all the snow comes and adds all that weight to your gutters. So you don't want them completely full. And then, Christmas light's kind of natural thing for pressure washers, landscapers to do during the winter time.
Well, I guess too, what you could offer too is since you're used to winterizing your stuff, you could go in and winterize those clients, you know, their water, their hoses and things like that. So they're not
I could. I don't know if it'd be worth my minimum.
Yeah.
Go and hook their hoses.
Yeah.
Turn off their water inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So what was ultimately the motivation behind getting your real estate license?
Well, after buying 2 houses and regretting buying both of those houses, I read a bunch of real estate investing books. I was really obsessed with Bigger Pockets, and pretty much just learned like, okay, if I'm ever going to take this serious, I'm going to get my real estate license because my long-term plan is rental properties. That's kind of my retirement plan. Just kind of always had the itch for it. So I was like, okay, I just need my real estate license so that way I don't have to rely on other people. Because when we bought the flip, it was just our research and knowledge, and that was nothing. And then, I did not have the best experience when I bought my house. My realtor did not really advise me how I wanted to be advised. She was just, I'm a big Rookie Ruth guy, relationships over transactions.
Yeah, buddy.
This realtor was not. And I felt that at the end because I after get my license and learning how stuff goes and you walking me through it, I was like, oh shit. Like she took me for a run.
Yeah,
I was just a paycheck to her.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, I'm just gonna get my real estate license and do it myself so I don't have to rely on other people. And, it's worked out because honestly, my business is completely on autopilot. And
That's awesome.
I say that because I don't do what you do. I don't lead generate. I don't make phone calls. I don't do anything. I post on my story when I show a house. I post, on the closing day or when offers get accepted, tell the story of, how we got there. And that's all I do. And it comes and goes. Anything that comes from it is a bonus because, I don't know if I have what it takes to do what you do full time because it is so scary because, you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from. I got 3 kids, my wife, my dad, all relying on me. So I love the fact that I can just go wake up, clean some gutters, come home, bills are paid, I'm there at dinner, being a full-time agent, I remember I had 3 clients at one time and I was like, what is going on? Everybody wants showings on the weekends. It's just a lot to take up and you're on call 24/7, my wife's, God, I love her all the time. She's just answer a phone call at 5:30. She's like, so when are you off work today? And I'm just like, 6. She's like, okay. And then if I answer that phone after 6, she's like, I was like, oh, fuck. So, the work-life balance it's a struggle. And being a full-time agent, there's just so much unknown and, the economy could tank or the market could tank or laws might change, so it's just nerve-wracking as shit to do that full-time. Same with you, Pat.
Yeah.
So I don't have the balls to do that, but I definitely, my biggest thing out of it is I just see it as helping people. And as long as I'm just doing that, I think it's going to treat me well because anything that comes from it is just kind of bonus. But if you're ever in a position where you're rely on the paycheck, that kind of makes you, think differently about your customers and you might lead them to advice that helps you more than them. Right. So the fact that I can take myself financially out of it, I think makes me a better agent too, because I can just honestly give them the best advice for their situation because I'm not relying on it.
Right.
My bills are being paid. Anything I get from it, I'm putting it all to the side to pay down debt or eventually invest in real estate with it. So it's just kind of a bonus, but I really enjoy doing it. It's just, I can't do it full time.
Yeah, I get it, man. It is stressful. I mean, you said everything I want to say.
Yeah.
I don't know when my next paycheck is coming. And,
Yeah.
As of right now, I don't know if I'm making any money in July.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got 2 listings coming on in the next 2 weeks, so I'm confident that both of those are probably
Mhm.
going under contract, and I'll have money in July. But as of right now, I make no money in July.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's scary.
Well, that's the thing
scary,
too,
you know?
is they could go under contract, but at the very same time, they could fall out of contract
all day.
Yeah.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
all day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just, I think the important, people in the real estate industry, you just need to not spend money. You need to live reasonably. That's the key is because, there's some days where you'll make a $10,000 paycheck and you're like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome. But it's you got to not live like an asshole. Live well below your means, I think is something that's, just a great advice for anybody, I mean, because there was points in my life where, before I got into real estate that I spent every single dollar I made every month, I did no sort of savings before I got into real estate and started, having people mentor me and kind of tell me this is what you need to do with your money instead of, because I was waiting tables. I just made cash. I had, make a couple $100 per shift or something. And then I have all this cash to go, spend on it. Half the time I wouldn't even deposit it. I just have a wad of, couple grand of cash in my fucking my nightstand.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
it was stupid. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But you know, it's just where, but you know, you figure it out just through time. One thing, you know, you mentioned there, you know, taking care of your dad, you know, and you manage his trust, and you know, he has Alzheimer's, right? I know that.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention this. Pretty much like not shortly after, but like after my mom died, you definitely saw like cognitive decline, and then a couple of years after, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years after, he got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So like that's been, you know, I thought losing my mom was gonna be the hardest thing I ever, you know, manage, but dealing with my father with Alzheimer's is definitely it, because it's definitely the worst disease out there. Like I would much rather him have cancer. I don't know if that makes me a bad person or not, but Alzheimer's, like, because that person doesn't really exist anymore. Like, you know, he's theoretically kind of dead because now he's become a new person, and that person fortunately kind of acts like a baby because, you know, he can't communicate, he forgets things, you know, he's having bathroom issues, like he cannot complete a complete thought right now. So like it's extremely challenging because my relationship that I once had with him is completely gone, and now I have this new relationship which is pretty much just caretaking, you know, because I can't really connect with him like I used to connect with him. Like I can't really reflect on memories with him, you know, and it's just extremely challenging. But you know, it, yeah, managing the trust and everything. Because the thing is, like, if I put him into a memory care facility, it's like 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, he could live a year, he could live 30 years. He does not have money to live 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
At
like
10 grand a month.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, you know, we're trying to make it work right now as best we can because, you know, we don't have the support system around us to really help manage all of this. So we're just trying our best. And luckily my wife loves me and hasn't ran away because like it, you know, it definitely puts a burden on her because, you know, we're trying to raise 3 kids, have a family, do our own things because, you know, he doesn't have enough income coming in to even pay his bills. So I'm having to, you know, invest my money into covering it because I want to keep his nest egg growing. So I don't like to touch that, you know, to pay his expenses because one day we're going to need to put him in somewhere and that money is very limited to keep it going. So definitely the hardest thing I've kind of had to overcome and whatnot. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge in my life right now is just trying to manage all of that because yeah, I do not wish that on my worst enemy. It is absolutely awful.
Yeah, I went through it with my grandfather. He was 90 years old when he developed it, and then passed away at 96. So it was 6 years of very rough. I mean, it got to the point where it was just like, man, you know, you hate to say this, but because of the wear and tear that was being put on my grandma at the time, it's almost like, man, especially at that age, it's like, time to pass away, Pop. Like it's time to move on. And it was like one of the cool things about it was like I was one of the last people to see. He lived in San Diego, and I was one of the last grandkids to see him before he passed. And it was right before I was going to spring training. Went to San Diego to see them, and it was crazy because he was completely lucid, knew exactly who he was, called me by my nickname that he always called me. For whatever reason, he called me Charlie. From the time I was a little kid, he always just called me Charlie. And so maybe he had it back then, I don't know. But but yeah, I was there, and he was asking about baseball and talking about baseball and asking if I was excited for the season, and then he was excited to watch me play and listen to my games on the radio. And we had a great trip, and he was all there. And then like 3 days after I left, gone. So
yeah, I mean, they just have no quality of life.
None.
Because my grandpa had it too, and he didn't get it until his later age too. But like, I mean, he got kicked out of one of his first facility because he took apart the whole entire outlet from the wall because he was an electrician and did all that stuff. And, you know, he thought it was broken, so he took it out.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, he got kicked out of there. And then once you get kicked out of somewhere for doing something like that, everybody knows and you're kind of put on a list. So then you got to go to the more expensive place and whatnot. So, like, it is just truly like the worst disease because, they have no quality of life. They can't even do things they enjoy because, you know, I mean, I remember taking the car away from him and like it just, you know, and it progresses so fast, way faster than you think.
Yep.
So like, you know, like your relationship with them is completely different 1 month later, and you have no idea because you don't know how fast it's going to progress. I mean, my dad's fairly young, you know, he's about to be 70 here soon, but like, I mean, gosh, like I could never imagine something so hard.
Yeah, I remember one story. He woke up in the middle of the night. Obviously, was out of it and rolled over. My grandma was in bed next to him and just didn't recognize this older woman, as his wife laying next to him. And he just freaked out and just took off running and got lost. Yeah, in the facility, and they were like trying to track him down and all that. That was
crazy.
Yeah. It's just it's a scary thing, and you know it's. You know, I think we're starting to find out a little bit more and more about it. What are they trying to? They're trying to say it's like type 3 diabetes.
Yeah, it pretty much is, because what it is, it's sugar in your brain. You know, like that throws off everything, and you know, there's no medications for it. You know, the one that they just came out that supposedly does something, like he doesn't even qualify for. But yeah, I mean, it's all lifestyle, and they're. You know, you listen to the right podcast, you'll have people, I'm sure you guys have, you know, the fact that you knew that people are referred to as type 3 diabetes tells me a lot. Because, you know, I've read a whole book called The End of Alzheimer's, and, you know, there is a way to reverse it. The problem is they treat your brain kind of like a roof, and there's 38 holes all leaking, and you have to plug up all of the holes to be able to reverse it.
Really?
And unfortunately,
like physically, there's
no, like it's just kind of like a metaphor. Like, okay, these things, all 38 holes represent something that you're doing in your life that's kind of causing it. And the problem is, like, that means I would pretty much just have to like
full time.
Yeah, 24/7 trying to baby him, trying to like get him to do things, and like,
well, and he has to be willing to do them too.
And he's not,
and
because
that's the thing too, is they probably aren't aware of what it like.
To
have the cognizant power to even realize or even comprehend, like, hey, I need to make this change.
Yeah, because it's all diet related, you know, like sugar and you know, a life of drinking alcohol all the time. Like, you know, my dad was a very old school guy. He liked what he liked, and he liked doing it. You know, health was never a thing like it is nowadays.
Right.
Like,
well, and that's the thing. If you want to prevent it, you got to start now at a young age.
Yeah, because the signs were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No one noticed them.
Right.
So, like, you know, if you're having signs of anything right now, it's giving you a clue at what 10 years from now it might be.
Your body's telling you, hey,
yeah,
make a change.
It's just now that we're starting to listen to our bodies and listen to, you know, or reading the labels on the back of stuff. You know, I have an app where I scan everything at the grocery store and tell me what this crap is. Like, I can read most of it.
Yuka, is it that one?
I use Bobby approved.
Okay.
It literally just scan a QR code and it'll just highlight the stuff that's bad in it. And sometimes it's just like sugar. I'm like, okay, good. No seed oils, no anything else, you know, I'll deal with the sugar, you know, but, you know, but everything's about moderation, you know, because, you know, we try to eat healthy. We try to have our kids eat healthy, and they do, you know, you can get your kids to eat broccoli. Trust me, you can do it. You just gotta be persistent, but, you know, we're definitely not perfect. You know, we like our ice cream and our pizza nights, you know, but everything's about moderation. You know,
it's just not, we don't eat pizza and ice cream every night. You know?
Yeah. Right.
It's like, you know, it's a moderation thing.
Well, I mean, that's like the nutritionist I work with. She's, you know, it's tracking what I eat and tracking the macros, tracking the meals, all of that stuff. But then it's like, hey, it's okay if you want to have a drink, or if you're going out to dinner and you want to kind of splurge. But it's like, well, one, if you're going to do that, don't eat the whole freaking thing.
Yeah.
You know, eat some of it and then just be done with it. Don't ask to take it home, and just be smart about it.
Yeah.
Like, you can mix that stuff in and still maintain a healthy lifestyle. And it's just, people just overindulge.
Yeah. Gooey butter cake and cereal are not a nutritious breakfast.
No.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Eggs and meat, people. Eggs and meat.
Yeah. Eggs, meat, vegetables. You know, you live on those, you know, few
Eat
things.
the rainbow.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw like it was like a thing on Instagram the other day. It was like, you know, your Costco, like shopping list. It's like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It was buy 5 things of vegetables, 4 things of meat, 3 things of fruit, 2 things of starches or carbs of some kind, and then like 1 treat. And I was like, that seems like a pretty good, like, you know, weekly, you know, shopping list, you know, because everything you buy at Costco is just, you buy a fuck ton of it.
Oh, we're big Costco people.
Bro, we went the other day and I was just watching the cart and I'm like, Jesus, this is going to be a big one.
if my wife goes with me, it's always like $200 more.
Oh, always. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if I've ever gone to Costco and not spent $200. Like, it's just
we're 300 plus now.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with 3 kids, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, dude. 3 kids.
They always get you. They always got that shit. Like, just random thing out there that you see and you're like, oh,
Yeah, I gotta try
I
that.
gotta try. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
dude, we ate those. I mean, these are awesome at Costco. We ate those for dinner last night. They have these burrito taco. You know, they have like the pre-made meals that you can like take home. They have like little street tacos, but they just recently started selling those burrito tacos. They're like pre-made. You throw them in the air fryer. They come with the consomme like dipping
Really?
sauce,
Okay.
and like the Spanish wrap. Dude, it's fucking delicious. So
Nice.
good. We ate those last night. I'm a big fan.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta check them out. They're like 23 or $24, and you get like 8 or 10 tacos in there with like a big thing of rice and then the things of the consomme, which is like that red dipping sauce, which is fucking awesome. So
I mean, I'm a big street taco guy, so I might have to look into that. I got a place right across from where I'm living. It's a Mexican grocery store, and in the back they make homemade street tacos.
Nice. We just got a griddle flat top.
Oh, dude, the Blackstone. Oh, dude, it's
we got a flat rock. We splurged.
Okay. Nice.
And yeah, we're really enjoying it for breakfasts and smash burgers. We haven't done our taco night yet, but we got all the stuff. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we just, speaking of tacos and smash, but we just did those. Have you seen these smash burger tacos? We just made these the other day. So you take like a tortilla and you like flatten the ground beef like to the tortilla and you just like grill it like there. So like the burger.
I think I did see a reel of that.
Yeah, so good, dude.
Really?
We made a bunch of them. And you just like basically like grill them like a burger and then flip it over and like let it cook on the tortilla side for just a little bit. Then you take them off, cheese, lettuce, pickles, ketchup, mustard, whatever the fuck you like on
Sounds
your
really
burgers.
good.
Really good. Yeah, we just did those the other day and they're phenomenal. So I recommend it on the flat top.
I'm about to say, fuck you, fit flavors in your
Yeah.
in your cheeseburger bowl. I'm going for the cheeseburger tacos.
Yeah,
right.
Cheeseburger tacos. They're awesome.
Just
dude.
kidding. I love you, fit flavors.
Yeah, we love it. But it's so fun to cook on. And, as someone who worked in a restaurant for a decade, like, I remember thinking when I worked in restaurants, they're like, oh man, like, why are these like flat? Because everything in like restaurants is cooked on a flat top. And then like, I remember thinking when I was like, I don't know anybody like have these in their houses. And then like 10 years later, like it's like a big thing,
Blackstone.
like, fuck, if I would have thought of this when I was, making pancakes at First Watch, like, fuck.
It makes everything so much easier. You
Oh,
don't have
dude.
4 pans to clean.
Yeah,
you can just clean
the
all
one
at once.
thing,
Like
yeah.
bacon, sausage, pancakes, everything's
all
going at
one,
once.
all one
Oh.
thing. Yeah, you flip
Yeah.
them. Everything's just right there, and it's like a fun thing to cook on.
Oh,
Like,
it's
I have
so
so
much
much fun.
Yeah,
like it's a blast. I bought all the fucking utensils.
Oh, yeah.
and shit,
Oh, yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
have all the spatulas and all the things.
Same.
It's a blast, man. I love it, man. It's been my new fun thing. That's like when we went to, because a lot of times we have been getting fit flavors. I mean, we lived on it for like 4 weeks as our kitchen was getting remodeled. But then I was like, all right, we got this Blackstone. I'm gonna be like cooking here for a little bit and enjoying it. So yeah, it's been.
I wouldn't be surprised before long you start seeing those built into the kitchens, instead of like.
I've seen them a couple
stove
times,
tops,
but it's definitely gonna be more popular.
Yeah, I could see that too in like some higher end kitchens. It's
Yeah.
just another big appliance.
Yeah.
I mean, those like the one I have.
Why do you need 4 burners if the whole thing can be a burner?
Right.
That's true. Yeah, you can always set a skillet on top of them. We used to do
Yeah.
that all the time at First Watch.
Yeah.
We'd set skillets right on top of the flat top. It's the same thing.
Shit. Did we just come up with an idea?
Yeah, I mean, fuck.
Oh, man.
I got too many. I don't know. Need to another one.
We need a patent lawyer real quick.
Yeah, real quick. I'm sure someone around here we could find.
Yeah.
So, JB, do you think entrepreneurship is something you're born with, or do you think it's something you learn over time by getting your teeth kicked in?
I think it really is something you either have to be inspired by or you just got that drive in you. Like a big book for me was Power of Broke, Damon John, because he pretty much tells the story of how he started Fubu. Like he literally mortgaged his mom's house to be able to do all of the equipment and stuff. And that saying where the general like burned off the boat so they couldn't surrender, and that's what I finally had to do to become successful. Like I think the biggest thing about entrepreneurship is people mislabel it. Like, the definition of entrepreneurship in my eyes is somebody that takes advantage of all money-making opportunities. Because if you just open up a gas station, you're just the owner of a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
You're not an entrepreneur. I'm sorry to all the Instagram influencers out there who are selling Tivana or whatever, but just because you put entrepreneur in your bio does not make you an entrepreneur. Like, these people that sell roofs, they're like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur because, I run my own business. Like, okay, no, you sell roofs. So what really encapsulates entrepreneurship is just taking advantage of everything available to you. And that's why I was like, okay, I can detail cars. I can sell real estate. I can and always constantly be thinking of what's the next move. Like, you sell real estate, but you also have your own investment properties. You're doing the podcast. You're expanding into things that is in your wheelhouse. So I think that's like really what separates people. And at the ultimate end of it, it's creative individuals who want to create something, who want to build it. Like I have thousands of ideas that have gone through my mind. Like I have an app idea I've been sitting on forever, but it's like, when am I
do
gonna
this?
Yeah.
when am I gonna have the capital to build this and like go down that rabbit hole? Or I have other ventures that I think would be beneficial that I could do. So it's definitely a mindset, I think, more than anything. And I don't think you can really just be born with it. I think you have to be inspired by it, get the bug. And, a lot of it comes from books, just being inspired by other people. Like half of my entrepreneurship courses were just reading about how companies got founded. And you do that a couple times and you're like, fuck, I could do this. Like, this started in a garage. I got a garage, like
I got one of those.
Yeah. Like every time I see a lemonade stand, I'm like, yeah, you go guys.
Yeah. Oh, I know, dude. I stopped the other
do
day.
it.
I stopped at one in my neighborhood the other day. I just always, anytime I see a lemonade stand, I got to stop. I always got to stop, and I just hope I have cash on me,
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned earlier, like you're like, well, I don't have the balls to do what we do, but you do, be just in a different way. You've got the balls to do your own thing and how you want to do it. I mean, that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of, I mean, it's the same shit that we do. It's just like you said, that's where your focus is. That's what you're intentional about. You're just not as intentional on the real estate side like we are.
Well, yeah, and then in your case too, like you're taking a way bigger risk from the jump,
right?
Like with all the equipment
Overhead.
and stuff, all the overhead, all the equipment, all the stuff you need to buy. Like, getting your real estate license is not that expensive, and then after that, it's like, okay, what next? Like I can kind of pretty much with that real estate license, and using some other free tools, I can pretty much just go and start making money if I kind of know what I'm doing. But like with you had to, you had to buy the rig, you had to buy all this other equipment, the power washer went out. Now I got to buy the nicer one. And like, it's just, that's something like that I don't necessarily have to worry about in my business, but like, that's a, that I think that takes some fucking serious balls.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Because I mean, like I might make a lot of revenue, but it definitely, once you do your taxes and everything, you're like, oh shoot, I had quite a few write-offs. Like I did spend a lot of money, and you're constantly having to reinvest and whatnot. I guess the biggest thing for me is that, like, with real estate, like I could spend like 100 hours like networking and prospecting, and not see a single dollar from that 100 hours. Whereas if I spend 100 hours like trying to get jobs or doing jobs, I at least know I'll get $1, from that. Like I can go knock doors for 5 hours and somebody will say yes to me cleaning their gutters. Yes. Like real estate, and also, takes 30 days to close. Yeah. But I've had clients where I've shown houses for 2 years, like some of them, you show them 2 houses and you're done. Yeah. Like, okay, cool.
That doesn't happen too often.
It doesn't happen too often.
It's happened a couple times in my career. I've probably sold close to, I think I'm like just under 200 transactions like right now. And I can name on like one hand how many times I showed someone like 5 houses or less. You know?
And also like I tell people like you don't usually want to get a deal within like the first offer or two, because you haven't had the reps, you haven't had the experience, you haven't got a feel for the market, you probably haven't looked at enough houses, I'm a firm believer as like, hey, even if you don't think you're gonna like this house or it's out of your price range, or I'm one of those realtors, or you don't have a pre-approval letter, let's still go look at it, because guess what? That's market research, baby. Like it's worth the time. Like you're gonna gain something out of it. It's gonna help you in your whole entire journey. Because some agents are like, oh, I can't do it. You don't have a pre-approval letter. They're like, why are we wasting our time? It's like, well, you're helping them with their experience. They're learning something. It's valuable information. So, but I mean, it's just it's tough. It's tough for sure.
Yeah, it is. That's for sure. So one other thing you put on here, you lived in Hawaii for a month. Tell us about that.
Yes, that was about 2 years ago. My wife was really adamant about going to live in Hawaii. It started at 3 months, and then we went down to 2, and then we went down to 1. But we wanted to do it before I got super busy with work. She's like, when can we do this? I was like, January. Everything's frozen. I'm not doing anything. But yeah, we just kind of did it, and it was great. We lived in a little eco farm in the southern area of the Big Island. Very poor area. We were living off rainwater and solar power. We could use the wash machine once a week. We had to hang our clothes up on a clothesline like old school days. Had to be very careful about the power. We only lost power one night. It ran out at like 7 p.m. because it literally rained the whole day. So there was
no solar.
There was no juice, It was just a small little shack kind of thing. But yeah, it was the greatest experience of our lives because we just went to a different beach every single day. I mean, it was like an hour drive to pretty much anywhere. So we just booking it everywhere all day, just constantly on the go and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I say we lived there because we didn't stay in no fancy resort.
Yeah.
We weren't eating out all the time. We literally lived off Costco. They have a Costco down there, and believe it or not, the prices are like just the same as up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, every time we went, we got a big pizza, for like $9. We ate on that a couple days. The boys ate peanut butter and jellies pretty much every day. Like we roughed it, but I mean, we pretty much got to see like that whole island. Just living it up. I was the two biggest real estate deals I ever closed. I closed from Hawaii.
Okay.
I got them literally both of them under contract like 3 days before we left.
Dude, that's
Like
cool.
I think the one literally was the night before I got on a flight. They accepted the offer. I was like, holy shit.
Sick.
So like not only did it pay for the whole trip and then some, but it just was cool because I was like, oh sweet, now I can actually like do some work while I'm there in the downtime.
Yeah.
We did some slow mornings. The only day we stayed at our place the whole time was the day it rained all day. But every other day we were out doing about, I was still on my phone. I was still answering calls, being a realtor, like I was, inspections. I was, there was a time difference. So I'm
sure, you're
like
5 hours behind.
I was like,
it is. Yeah.
I'll call you at 6 a.m. Like, I still had to do what I had to do, but it was a great experience. Highly recommend doing it. We did the whole trip for under $10,000.
Wow.
It was a little over 9. I forget the exact amount, but that included flight, the stay, the car, food. I mean, we spent probably over $500 in gas because we had a big gas guzzler expedition. Booking it all over that island. Like I
you
said,
need to carry all the stuff with you and all the
we
stuff.
we were snorkeling. We had boogie boards. Like we were just living like locals pretty much. And everybody was like, "Are you gonna come back?" And afterwards, we're like, "Yes, we're gonna come back. We love it here." I don't know if I could ever live there unless I'm like retired.
How the locals treat you guys?
See, they treated us very, very nice because
Really?
they could tell like we weren't tourists, like we were going to very secluded beaches. Like I literally pulled up Google Earth and just went around the whole island and like made a spreadsheet. I like looked up every beach, wrote down notes because we were trying to like, get the full experience, and even we Airbnb'd it. So the guy we stayed at, he had a like smaller little house next to it. And he took us to this like remote beach that like you had to drive like 30 minutes over lava rock to get to a point where you had to park and then like walk like 2 miles in.
Wow.
Whoa.
And literally it's just this small beach on the south side that like nobody's at. We're even really supposed to be there because there's like no bathrooms there. So they don't want people like going there. But like we just had a little private beach to ourselves. So like we definitely like lived it like locals. And like when we told people like some of the places to go, like, oh really? Like you found that? Because like we hiked like 30 minutes into this like little waterfall that was just like had its own little pond kind of area that like nobody knew about. So like we definitely were trying to stay off like the beach passes. Like if like a beach had like 5,000 reviews, we were like, it's probably like really touristy, really crowded. Like let's go to this one that has like 800. The ones that had less reviews were always the better ones, but they were like usually harder to get to or like not as nice. But some of those were like the best ones, and
that's cool.
Yeah, it was a great experience. We're definitely going to go back. We're probably going back in a year or two, but we're going to do a different island because we stayed on the big island the whole time because there's just so much to see. Like we didn't even get to see it all. So we'll eventually go back, but we're going to probably go back to Kauai next time, which, but highly recommend doing it. You just got to make some sacrifices and get out of your comfort zone.
How are the kids with all the travel and the hiking and all that?
Honestly, they were great. Like, it was just Jensen and Arlo. I want to say they were 5 and 2. Yeah. Arlo was great. He still remembers a lot of it. The flight, it's a pretty rough flight. You fly to Phoenix and then you fly like, in like 10 hours. No, it was like 8 or 10 hours, something. We're not a big technology household, but we did buy tablets for this, just to give us a break on the plane. Cause last thing people want, is a screaming kid or something. And that's just a long flight. So, they were great. Honestly, like they were amazing. Like they Jensen didn't like PB&Js after that trip, but like they ate lunch. They were, always ready to go. Like they just ate it up. I mean,
that's awesome.
We didn't even really have to parent, you're on the beach, they're having the time of their lives. I got to go snorkel a bunch, took a GoPro. I took a bunch of footage and stuff, saw some cool things. Still haven't edited it. One day we'll make a post and share it. But, I mean, I highly recommend doing it because it definitely gives you a completely different perspective because, they definitely live a whole different lifestyle on the island.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, man. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii. That's been like on the bucket list for sure.
I got tips and advice.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
My buddy Nick, his brother actually lives. I can't remember which island they're on, but his brother married a girl who's from Hawaii, and that's where they live. And he he's told me a lot of stories and stuff that he's done there. It's just always made me really really want to go. It just looks amazing. Just yeah, it's
It can be
definitely-
very expensive if you make it very expensive. If
Yeah.
you want to, because the thing is, like, you don't want to spend a week there. Like, you want to spend a decent amount of time there
Sure,
because
especially
it's
with that flight and everything.
yeah, and the cost of the flight and everything and the stay. Like, like we got a pretty good rate since we stayed there for a month.
Yeah.
So like you can do it very affordable. You just gotta shop around, do some research, and
Yeah, it's almost like going to a different country, even though it's part of.
yeah,
So-
yeah.
It's
You
crazy.
wanna go
that
somewhere-
Crazy that it is part of
Right.
part of the United States and it's
Oh, yeah.
5 hours out into the ocean.
Well, they call it was it off land or the mainland? When you
Mainlanders
go
or
back,
whatever,
yeah, on island and off island.
Yeah.
It's funny, the mainland.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, if I want to go over to Europe or anything over there, I'm not going to do it for just a week. I mean,
Oh no, make it
yeah,
worth a while.
right.
Make it worth the trip so you can
Yeah.
actually see it.
Right.
Actually live the experience.
Yeah, there's so much to experience. I mean, even with it just being a small archipelago like it is, different islands,
I
different.
mean, literally, it's like a 2-lane highway around the whole island,
Yeah.
and then there's like one cut through, through the 2 volcanoes, and that's it because most of it is a volcano.
Right.
You're literally
Yeah,
on a volcano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Awesome.
crazy.
So, well, before we go, we always like to end the show. But before we do that, anything else you want to touch on or chat about before we let you go?
I got a question
Okay.
for you, Zach.
Hit me.
So I'm on a 5-year plan to sell my house and buy a big, beautiful property somewhere someday. And I haven't sold a lot of houses myself, listing wise. I've done a lot of buyer transactions, but like getting ready to list a house, or some of the most important things to like update or fix, because like I got a kind of a custom built home that was top of the line 30 years ago, but
Sure.
now it's a little outdated. Everything's nice, but it's like, I don't want to put 70 grand to a kitchen because most likely whoever's going to buy it is going to
Gonna wanna do
redo the
it their-
kitchen anyway. So like,
want to do it
what
the
do
way
you
they want
see as some of the better things to improve on before? I mean, obviously you want everything working for
Yeah.
the inspection and whatnot, patch that stuff up. But
yeah, I would say do any sort of deferred maintenance, anything that you kind of been putting off that we should probably do that. Like any sort of deferred maintenance, anything that you think that needs that is going to get called out in an inspection. I mean, you have a lot of experience with inspections, so you
Mhm.
know what these guys are looking for.
Yeah.
So I would say stuff like that. Areas that I think you kind of get the best ROI if you are going to kind of remodel them are your kitchens and your bathrooms. I mean, that's what people really want to see updated more than anything. Like a bedroom is not hard to update. If it's just the the floor and new paint, like that's gonna be an upgrade, or so that's a lot easier to do in like the bedrooms and stuff.
Mhm.
But the kitchens and bathrooms, that is where you spend the money, and that is what people want to see. So but I would just say make it as presentable as possible whenever you're ready to list. I do always recommend getting professional staging done if possible. Obviously get it as clean as possible. Put all the clutter away. If you're going to be living in the house while it's being sold, having I always say pre-pack. If we're gonna if you're gonna be moving out of the house anyway, so you might as well pack up
Mhm.
before. It's gonna make the house look bigger. It's gonna make the house look like it has more storage if everything's like neat, put away in boxes and has a place. So tidying up the house, updating anything that you want to update. I usually recommend kitchens, bathrooms, master bedroom. Those are the 3 areas, and then the exterior as well. Make sure your landscaping looks good. Everything's weeds are pulled, grass is cut, everything outside looks kind of orderly. If you've got a retaining wall that's leaning or something, like maybe address that. Just because that's going to be something people see.
wash the house, clean the
definitely
concrete,
clean
make
the
sure
concrete.
trees aren't growing out of the gutters.
Yeah, definitely. Make sure you're. I always say, I do always recommend getting, things pressure washed, or a lot of people have power washers of their own. So I was like, I see that power washer in the garage, and maybe go hit the back patio on an afternoon. It's stuff I recommend to people. So yeah, clean the gutters, clean the concrete. Yeah, I would say those are the main things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And Pat, for you, to not be contingent on the sale of your home is pulling a HELOC out so you can be more creative and aggressive on offers, what kind of hurdles does that kind of put in your like maybe debt to income and qualifications?
So there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can look into a bridge loan, to where most places, if you get the bridge loan set up through them and do the financing through them, they'll only look at what the bridge loan payment is, not what your actual mortgage payment is. And so that can help with debt to income ratios. But the downside to that is you've got additional costs for setting up that HELOC or that bridge loan. You've got different fees, there's lender fees, title fees, you've got different things like that are included in that, which can make it, in the long run, make it more expensive in terms of cost wise. A lot of the times what we're doing is looking at people and saying like, hey, we can get you qualified for both houses, see what we can do to get you in with little down. And then once you sell your house, do what's called recasting, where you take the equity from that house and you apply it towards the principal, and we go in and recalculate your monthly payment. All of the investors that we work with do allow it, like Guild specifically. If it's a program that stays with Guild, you can recast once every 12 months. It's free. You just have to put $10,000 or more towards the principal balance. And when you go to recast, you can if you're putting enough down, you can get the PMI removed at that time. And so it doesn't really change anything. They're just basically recalculating your payment based on what you owe over that time that's left. So you're going to be able to drop that monthly payment. Still going to amortize over the 30-year period. It's just you're going to have a lower payment after the fact. You might just, I think worst case, one of the investors requires a 6-month waiting period and a $500 fee before you can recast. But yeah, that you go in, you get the recast done. So say you buy a $300,000 house, and after you sell your house, you have $100,000. You can throw that $100,000 at the principal, and they'll recalculate your monthly payment based on a remaining $200,000 over 30 years.
Glad I asked that. I've never heard of recasting, so that's very useful information.
Yep, that's usually that can potentially be your cheapest and best way to go. So that way you're not having to feel that stress of selling your house and moving in at the same time, as well as still being able to take advantage of reducing your monthly payment after the fact, with very little cost versus trying to take out the bridge loan, because there are costs involved with that too. So, but yeah, typically when we do the bridge loan, there's when I pitch it, I have yet to do one. Once I pitch it to them, they're like, can we afford the house that we want to buy without selling and doing? I'm like, yeah, we just recast after the fact. And most people will jump on that option. But we usually set it up for the minimum amount of like $40,000. So that way we're only counting a small monthly payment for a $40,000 loan versus like, hey, we've got $100,000 that we can pull out. Well, now we're looking at a payment on $100,000 versus $40,000. That $40,000 is going to be less, and that's the only thing that's me going in your debt to income ratio. So there's some strategy to it as well. But then you sell your house and you recast after the fact, just because you're probably going to want to put more down than just the 40. But it's a way to play with the debt to income ratios or manipulate the debt to income ratios that way. Yeah. So we're not having to count that whole mortgage payment in there, just the HELOC or the bridge loan. So
love creative financing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All sorts of fun. Yep.
Yeah.
So
JB, it's been amazing having you in here. It's been a lot of fun. But before we get you out of here,
we always like to end it with playing a little game. Call it the tombstone game. Here lies JB. What does it say on your tombstone?
I listened to your podcast, so I should be more prepared for this. But,
you knew it was coming.
Yeah. I did know it was coming. I just didn't put a ton of thought into it. But I'd probably keep it simple. Loyal husband and father, devoted friend and son, and then supporter of all. Because I'm really big into supporting my friends, supporting people who want to start businesses. Like, I'm definitely one of the biggest pushers for entrepreneurship. Like, literally anybody I come across, if I hear any kind of idea or something they do, I'm like, okay, how can I support you? Because I want people to enjoy what we have. I mean, and also, misery loves company. Like, that's my biggest push for people to have kids. I was like, yeah, you should have kids. Misery love company.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I want you to know what it means to not sleep,
Yeah. I want you to experience what I've experienced.
Yeah. Like, get on my, like, when my friend says, oh, I'm so tired. I'm like, dude.
I'm like, bro, you don't have kids. Like,
don't say that to me.
Anybody that doesn't have kids and tells me they're tired, I'm like, Okay.
Yeah.
Why can't you sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why can't you
Do
sleep?
you really know what it means to be tired?
Yeah. Like, I don't think you really know.
No, you don't know.
Yeah. But, well, this was a lot of fun, and thanks again for coming in.
Absolutely, man.
Been a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely.
Well, all you guys at home, thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you could click that subscribe button for us, that would help us out a ton. Pat and I have a goal to get to 500 subscribers before the end of 2025. So, if you click that for us, if you got anything out of the show, send it to a friend that you think would like it. That would help us out a ton as well. Click that like button as well, and comment what you thought below. We'll see you next time.